and thank you so much for watching. I'm Sam, and I moderate these weekly webinars. And in just a second, we're going to be joined by Wesley Boudreaux. Wesley is going to be giving you a little rundown of how you can take advantage of those year-end contribution limits. After his presentation, he'll also answer a couple questions. I apologize in advance. We don't always get time to answer every question. Please feel free to still ask away in the Q&A box. It's completely anonymous, and I will make sure another one of our financial advisors gets to you quickly, either through phone or email, to answer those questions with you. As a quick reminder, we are not affiliated nor endorsed whatsoever by any specific company, so please keep that in mind as you're listening along. And as we wait for a couple more people to trickle in, I should also just let you know that you will see some pop-ups on your screen as you watch this presentation today. They'll guide you to several different resources, one of which will be our YouTube, where you can follow us and watch much more retirement-related content. Another will be a link to book an appointment with one of our financial advisors, as well as a link to a complimentary cash flow analysis, which Wesley will go more into depth with you about throughout his presentation. And with all of that out of the way now, let's jump right into it with Wesley Boudreaux.
All right, thank you very much for that introduction, Samantha. And like she said, we are going to be talking about 401ks today. I'll be giving kind of a high-level review of different investment options you may find within 401ks, also in IRAs, because a lot of people tend to roll over to an IRA once they leave their company. So we'll go over some different investment options there as well in a high-level aspect. Talk about managing retirement accounts, income distributions, things like that you need to worry about as you transition into retirement. So kind of jumping into it, like I said, a lot of people tend to roll over their 401k into an IRA once they retire. That's not necessarily the right decision for everybody. There are some people that decide to stay in a 401k because of maybe proprietary investment options. Maybe they just like it because it's easier. There's fewer investment choices, or there may be some other reason. They might have a loan that's outstanding. They don't want to get paid off or let it default, things like that. So we can go through all these different questions you have, but typically speaking, whenever you roll over to an IRA, you've got different options there because the entire market's open. It can be, investments in, stocks, bonds, CDs, annuities, private placements, pretty much anything you think about. Then a Roth IRA, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, is going to be the after-tax portion. If you got that in a 401k, you could potentially roll that over to a Roth, so that actually starts to grow tax-free. And in that IRA situation, just like a 401k, there are going to be RMDs at 73 or 75. We'll talk about those a little bit later as well. As far as you transition to retirement, one of the biggest things that you need to understand is setting a budget. And that's one of the things we do provide for you, a worksheet to help. I don't want to say junk in, junk out, but our plans can be as good as the information provided to us. So you got to be very careful and take your time on putting that budget together. It could be something as simple as saying, hey, I want 70% of what I'm making net right now, or 80% of my take-home pay. Or we can get into the, we need about $6,000 a month to live on. That's what we've been doing so far. Or it gets granular as going in there and looking at, mortgages getting paid off, car notes getting paid off, having to pay for weddings, things like that, different fluctuating expenses. So we can get as specific as you want. It's up to you how far you want to dig into there. As far as when it comes time for income production in retirement, there's definitely various choices you can look at, and it's never really a one-size-fits-all solution. You may need to look at a combination of these, and there's definitely some pros and cons to some of these, especially that first one listed up there, annuities. That gets a bad connotation a lot of times, but it could be as simple as a pension is an annuity. That's a steady stream of income. Social Security is an annuity, but there are some different investment option type annuities we'll go over in just a moment. Dividend stocks. So typically at the retirement group, we do tilt towards value stocks. Those are companies that pay dividends and have been continue to pay dividends. A dividend is a kind of a cash rebate to stockholders, where a company says, "Hey, look, we think we can grow the company, but we want to give a portion back to our stockholders so they can do what they want with that." So again, a lot of times retirees will look for something of that nature. Investments in fixed income investments, bonds, CDs, things of that. Typically, a portfolio diversification is what most people end up doing. It's a combination of some of these different approaches, and we'll talk about that a little bit later and give an example, but there's many different options to look at. And managed payout mutual funds, not used too much. We'll talk about that at the very end as well. As far as annuities, I mentioned before, this one I want to stress here. Be very, very careful if you ever sit down and talk with somebody about annuities, especially if somebody's hounding you or approaching you, maybe an insurance salesman that's trying to get you into an annuity. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. There's a lot of different annuity options. In a lot of places they're bad, and a lot of places they're good, but it all depends upon that financial plan, which I mentioned before. Running a cash flow analysis allows us to have a deeper look into what you're trying to achieve and back into that. So if you're looking for, steady streams of income, that's where you typically will get into an annuity. Like I said, it can be as simple as a single premium and immediate annuity or deferred annuity, where think about it like a pension or Social Security. You turn over $100,000 and they are going to pay you, let's say, $500 a month for the rest of your life. That does not go up with inflation, so there's risk there, and you're giving up that money as well. There's fixed annuities, there's variable annuities. I think we got a couple of things on the next slide we'll kind of go over with those as well. So that single premium immediate annuity that I just mentioned, again, like a pension, you set aside some money, that 100,000 example I gave you, and the company will pay you out for the rest of your life. So again, if you just want that steady paycheck and no concerns there, but you do understand there's inflation, that's where that comes into play. And we actually didn't see these used that often while interest rates were lower, but once they started coming up the last couple of years, they've gotten more attractive. But again, it's good to back into your actual income strategy with multiple choices. Excuse me. So fixed indexed annuities and variable annuities are another aspect. A fixed indexed annuity is going to give you more protection on the downside. You have a fixed account in there, and you do have the ability to participate in market performance. But be very careful. Don't let somebody kind of tell you, the best situations. A lot of times we run these to show you low probabilities as far as the returns, or if you're looking at generating income on there, we're focusing solely on the ones that provide the best income. In some cases, these are paying higher income right now than what those single premium and immediate annuities are doing. But again, a lot of times that participation in that market is capped. So again, if the market, let's say, goes up 10%, you might have a participation rate of 70%, so it would be 7%. There might be a cap in there as well. So, and those do change. So it's very important to sit down with somebody at the retirement group to review these to make sure that we've gone through all the different options if you're leaning towards that. On the variable annuity side, kind of similar situation. You can pick an income stream on there. There's different ways to do that immediately or defer it. These are going to be your most expensive options, but they're going to have your most flexibility where you can invest in mutual funds. So there's more upside potential in there, but also some downside risk on the contract value. But again, if you're looking at this for an income benefit and distributions, then that's going to be locked in. So again, a lot of things to go over, but the key point is if you're thinking about looking for guaranteed income, let's talk about that, because I want to make sure you don't make a mistake and talk to somebody who's just trying to sell you something. As far as the interest and dividends we talked about, again, there's you can look at general income through a stack of dividends, interest rates through bonds, CDs, or money markets. This again allows you to kind of gather your payments regardless of what's happening in the market, with the exception of obviously the dividend stocks. But it's one way to kind of get a steady stream of income. And we've got clients that rely, all on CDs or all on dividend stocks. It just depends upon those individuals, but usually it's a combination approach. And again, the dividends are never guaranteed. Even the interest is never guaranteed either. But there also can be tax situations there because it's constantly paying you out, especially in an after-tax account. In an IRA or 401k, it's not going to matter as much because that taxation is based upon you taking distributions, not what's happening within the account. Total return investing is just, again, focusing on optimizing your returns from a diversified portfolio. So that's primarily what you're going to see us do at the retirement group with the accounts we have at both Fidelity and Schwab. It's going to be kind of sitting down, talking with you, running that cash flow analysis, and then backing into some choices for investment strategies. But typically, I'd say the vast majority of people have a diversified portfolio where we do have a combination of stocks, bonds, maybe some CDs, maybe an annuity if they're looking at guarantees or wanting guarantees on there for a portion of it. But again, it also allows flexible withdrawals. It allows tactical allocations where you can shift or increase or decrease the allocation to different areas of the market as we see different changes happening. So again, that provides you a lot of flexibility, but again, no guarantees. That's where sometimes people use the CDs or the annuities. The managed payout funds I mentioned before, honestly, I haven't really seen anybody use these, but it's a kind of a new breed of fund where they're trying to manage the payout. Let's say they're trying to use a combination of dividends and bonds, and maybe it's say a payout of 5% they're looking for. So they're trying to generate that yield between the two of those and consistently try and hit that 5% return. But again, there's no guarantees there as well, depending upon what happens within the portfolio from it. So let's go through kind of a quick example. Again, this is an example and everybody's different, but let's assume we got a 65-year-old couple that's really kind of more focused on wanting to guarantee their income, and that's their biggest concern is making sure they don't lose any of it. They're a little bit, they're overly conservative in some cases. So their desired monthly income is about $6,000 a month. Their Social Security combined is going to get them to $3,000. So they've got a gap about $3,000. They do have an IRA of about $1 million. So if you look at that, that's what, a 3.6% withdrawal rate they need. They can actually go out there and get a money market or a CD that covers that right now if they want to. But again, over time, if interest rates come down a little bit more, those yields will come down as well. So it's a conversation to have. That'll also mean kind of tying up most of that money if you're using CDs. So how can they allocate that IRA? Again, I mentioned they're on the conservative side, so looking to guarantee that 6,000. They don't want any fluctuations in it. So in this case, they may decide, let's take that $1 million, let's set aside $360,000 in order to an immediate annuity. So think about, again, like your pension you may have or a Social Security without a cost limit adjustment, and that's going to get them that $2,000 a month. Now again, rates change and everything, so we'll go through this one-on-one if you want to do a review like this. So maybe they do $2,000 from there. That's going to be fixed, not going to change. They are, they're kind of spooked about the market, but they know they're getting good yields in money markets right now. So they set aside another $400,000, just keep it in the money market, drawing down $1,000 a month from there. And that leaves them with about $240,000 that they decide to have in a diversified portfolio. Maybe it's more balance oriented, but that gives them that fluctuation and the ability to tap into that for discretionary spending on top of that 6,000 or so. And again, it's a snapshot in time. These things can change. The annuity, if you're taking that income, that's not going to change, but the breakdown between the money market and the diversified portfolio may change allocations throughout the course of their life as well. Now, we got to be careful about the taxes on distributions from a 401k. A lot of this, again, a 401k is meant to be saved for retirement. So as long as you wait until 59 and a half, you're going to be looking at just taxes on it, no penalty. If you were to tap into it before 59 and a half, generally speaking, there is a 10% penalty on top of the taxes. There are different ways around this, like an age 55 rule if you're leaving the company at 55 or later, or if you're doing what's called a 72T from an IRA where you take out the same payments for 5 years or until you turn 59 and a half, whichever is longer. We can kind of go through some of these different things with you. But you also want to focus on after-tax contributions to your 401k. You're not going to get that tax deduction, but what's going to happen is that's going to grow tax deferred in there, and the amount you put in there is going to be tax-free whenever you decide to tap into it. But also that gives you the option for what's called like a backdoor Roth 401k strategy where you can put after-tax money in there. Again, depending upon the plan's options for distributions, you can roll that after-tax over to a Roth IRA, so it's going to grow tax-free now in there. So again, there's a lot of different pros and cons to that. If you need to review your 401k allocations, what you're saving, what you're putting into, we can definitely go through that and see if backdoor Roth options are available for you, and also conversions. So with all these retirement accounts, the 401k, IRA, you are going to have what's called an RMD, a required minimum distribution. It used to be at 70 and a half. They bumped it back to 72. Then they bumped it to 73. So depending upon how old you are, if you were born before 1959 or earlier, it's going to be age 73. If 1960 or later, it's going to be 75 now. So they've given us some more time to plan. And that's what we do a lot of planning with individuals is typically speaking, most people are going to retire prior to that 73 age. And if they do, that gives us some planning time to look at Roth conversions and things like that in order to start mitigating and reducing the potential RMD. Because once that kicks in, you can't stop that. That is what it is. It's what you're going to have to take out each year. And if you make a mistake, they can penalize you. It used to be a lot worse. It used to be about half of it, but now it's gone down to potentially 30% range, 20% range in some cases. Now, as far as the amount you have to take out, we don't need to go through the whole table, but generally speaking, just think about it's roughly around 4%, and then it goes up each year from there. They use a divisor factor based upon your age, getting to life expectancy and beyond, because they go out to 115. But roughly about 4% at the beginning. By the time you get to your 80 or so, it's up to about 5% withdrawal rates, and it's going to start increasing year over year with the goal of depleting that account eventually so they can tax you on that. So again, definitely something that comes into play when we run those financial plans. You can see how this plays out the rest of your life as well. But as far as those plans, like I said at the beginning, I believe those are complementary plans. It's something we do day in and day out for our clients and prospects. But right now, about 3/4 of Americans over 50 don't have a written plan. If you can spend about 10 to 15 minutes with us, gathering a couple of data points, we can put that plan together, get it back to you in a couple of days, sit down, go over that, and then run some tweaks if you want to see how everything else looks and different options that can help you decide, when should I retire? I'm thinking about retiring in 3 years. Can I go earlier, or do I need to work later? Do I need to cut expenses? We go through all those different options and don't shy away from some of the hard subjects. So again, just take us up on that, and we'll be happy to help you there. But So who are we again? The Retirement Group, we are an independent financial advisory firm that works with a lot of Fortune 500 company employees on a lot of pre-retirement planning and post-retirement management. We have offices throughout the country, so rest assured if you need to sit down with somebody face-to-face, we can probably accommodate that. But again, this day and age, we can do web meetings, phone calls, email communication, whatever is preferred for you. But a lot of our advisors only focus on working with a select number of companies, so that allows us to have more details, and you're able to talk with somebody that knows your company plan a little bit more inside and out, whether it's questions on the pension, a 401k, healthcare, retirement, medical benefits, life insurance continuation, things like that. But a lot of it all kind of comes together in that complementary financial analysis. That's the one thing I do stress that you take us up on. We'll be happy to run that for you. If it's been a year or two, we should probably update the old ones we've done for you as well. And with that, I just want to kind of thank everybody for kind of joining. I'll double check a question here or two, but I want to keep the screen up here so you have our contact information. You can reach that info@theretirementgroup.com if you want to email us, and we'll get back to you. The phone number is 800-900-5867. There's a couple QR codes up here that you can use in order to get into our calendars to schedule an appointment, and or into our LinkedIn page if you want to go in there and follow along with some of the information we provide there, especially some company-specific information we do for the different companies we work with as well. So that let me the one question that I do have, it looks like it's coming through, is somebody's asking, when can I roll over my 401k? Can I do it before leaving work? That's actually a good question. Again, this is kind of a high-level review, but it really depends upon your company plan. Some company plans will not allow you to do anything until you retire, so all that money stays in that plan. Once you retire, then you have the ability to roll that over. Some give you some flexibility where you might be able to roll over 10 or 20% of the portfolio at any time. If you got after-tax money in there, you might be able to tap into that or roll that over if you want to. But most companies, I'd say, once you hit 59 and a half, they tend to give you a distribution option where you can roll that money over if you want to. So again, it's really important to talk to us, even if you're in your 40s, or obviously if you're closer to retirement. In some cases, if you're still working, there may be an option for you to roll over a portion of your assets if you want to look at getting those professionally managed or a deeper review of those. And then also we've got the ability to, depending upon your 401k, potentially manage that 401k for you, so we can give you greater expertise there, more monitoring and more active trading, and more help there where we can actually see that for you versus having to request statements and things like that back and forth with you as well. And then one other question had in here was about when can I do Roth conversions in my 401k plan? So again, another kind of specific 401k plan question that's going to have to be directed back to your 401k plan. We do a lot of these with some of our clients, but again, it depends upon what company you work for. If you want to get us on the phone, we can take a look at the plan. If it's one we worked with, we'll probably be able to tell you right there. If not, we can get you on the phone with the 401k plan and see what those options are, and see if we can do that in there. Or it could be, again, that you have the option to get some of that rolled over to an IRA where you can do the conversions, and it might be a little bit easier, and you got more investment choices there as well. That's one of the biggest issues if you do a conversion. So a conversion, again, is actually taking money that's already been taxed and turning it from a 401k or an IRA into a Roth. So you're going to pay the taxes on what you convert. So if you, let's say, convert at $50,000, that's going to add $50,000 to your income, and it may bump you into the next tax bracket. So it's something you do in a review. And they did away with recharacterization, which was the ability to kind of cancel it if the market were to drop. So you got to be careful about that as well. So give us a call. We can talk about different ways to protect that conversion as well, so that you're not overpaying in taxes. But with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, a quick reminder, we do work with a lot of companies. Does not mean we're employed by your specific company. But reach out to us if you want to run that cash flow analysis. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to dig into them for you. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.